Immersed Robot.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Immersed Robot, and in this video I just wanted to go through some of my early thoughts on the Elite Dangerous Odyssey DLC, the alpha, which is now available to people that paid a little bit extra to get access to this alpha. Now this is probably the biggest update to Elite Dangerous since its initial launch, really. And for anybody that doesn't know, this update allows players to actually get out of their ship, wander around space stations, wander around settlements, planetary settlements, and on planets themselves. This has been sort of dubbed Space Legs for members of the Elite Dangerous community. It's been sort of a long requested feature which has been years in the making, I'm sure. The other addition to this is also atmospheric planets that you can now fly through as well. Now the thing to mention with this is that initially this alpha is not playable in VR at all anyway, and even with the official launch, which is late spring, I think they've still said it will be, the on-foot sections within the Odyssey update will not be playable within virtual reality, unlike the rest of the game, which is it's quite a significant major disappointment to me, if I'm being truthful. But I don't know if they have plans in the future to bring virtual reality to those on-foot sections or not. They're being a little bit hesitant with how that's going to play out. I'll get into that a little bit more later on in the video. But you can still fly through these atmospheres of all of these planets in virtual reality as well within this update when it eventually comes. So I guess you've got the base game will remain as it will, completely playable in virtual reality. The on-foot sections won't be, but they do have a sort of a makeshift solution for that for players that do play primarily in virtual reality as well, and I will get onto that. So just going through this alpha playthrough, this is my initial run. The footage that I'm showing here, this is literally my first time in the game, so a lot of this I'm just sort of working my way through some of the systems, just exploring this starting settlement that you initially spawn into. And you do start with a new player within this alpha. This is not my player, this is a new player that I've been given in order to just test the game, really. And so my first impressions regarding this is that the game looks good enough at this point. Now I can't say that I'm wildly impressed with the graphics or anything like that at this stage, but they're serviceable, and there is a nice level of detail within the environment, especially in the settlement as well that you start in. So you have all of these NPCs that are wandering around, and it definitely brings life to the place. It brings a good level of atmosphere. You've got music playing in the background, and the sound design just feels really good. It all adds to this immersive nature. Of course it would be better if it was in VR, but this is what we're dealt with at the moment. So I think the graphics in terms of how they look are okay. And what we have to remember with this as well, this game, as far as I know, it was never designed, this game engine was never designed to be used in this way. Now, no Elite game has allowed you to get out and wander around on foot before, at least to my knowledge. I've played them all, so I'm pretty sure in that. But so this is quite a major change in terms of gameplay style from what we're used to with Elite to what they want to bring going forward. This is its self-contained area, really, of the game. You don't need to play Odyssey. You don't need to play these on-foot sections. The traditional game, Elite Dangerous, and the Horizons DLC, which allows you to land on planets and explore planets in an SRV, will remain the same. If you choose not to play this portion of the game, then that's fine. And anything outside of Odyssey is of course playable in virtual reality. But bringing this new style of gameplay within the world of Elite can be a jarring thing, in all honesty. I think the way they've handled it and how it fits into everything, the interface and just the style of everything just fits so well with the lore and what we're used to with Elite Dangerous, that immediately I felt like this is really what I wanted, what I expected from on-foot sections and wandering around these bases. Everything fits so well together. Now, just onto another point regarding the interfaces and the gameplay mechanics. Elite Dangerous is a game which is notoriously, it has a steep learning curve, and it can be sometimes very difficult to penetrate certain sections of the game without some kind of YouTube video or a guide to show you what to do. The game has various tutorials in the base game which cover just the very surface of what you can do within it. if you want to do deeper things, you really need to find guides, or you need to really fathom things out for yourself, which can take a long time. And this portion, these on foot sections, they work in a very similar way to the overall game, but the interface itself can be slightly unintuitive in my experience, and a little bit confusing if I'm being truthful. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to, I think, but overall, because the overall design of the interface is very similar to what we're used to, you can probably navigate your way around well enough. But there's certain just gameplay intricacies that are not communicated that effectively, at least at this stage within the alpha anyway. Now that could change, of course. This will be an overall caveat with this video. Everything that I'm going to mention here will probably change multiple times before the official launch of this DLC. So the missions themselves, I did do one mission in this first little playthrough, and they overall seem relatively basic. You land somewhere on a planet, and then you have to infiltrate something and infiltrate a building and then do something within that building. But the intricacies of those missions can be a little bit more complicated, and you need to prepare the missions really. You need to prepare the equipment that you take with you, and all of these little small things which again are not communicated that effectively, and I think these are the things that are going to take time to really get used to. The onboarding with Elite is in my experience quite bad, and in this it's quite bad as well. It's going to take multiple missions before you really get any clear sense of what you're supposed to be doing in any one mission. And also the overall difficulty is quite high within this game, and this is something that I've seen a few people mention already when I've watched a couple of streams. While mine was downloading, I watched a few streams, and a lot of people were struggling with the difficulty. It was even on zero threat missions, there were people that were just getting shot straight away as soon as they departed their taxi craft to the planetary location. So these are all, again, small things that will easily be worked out by the developers, of course. Now I do want to get on to my thoughts on the VR implementation of this. So what is going to happen when this DLC launches? You will be able to play the base game as you already did, the base game and the Horizons DLC, the Planetary Landings DLC, in virtual reality in exactly the same way as you always have. And you can also have the addition of travelling through and flying down through to atmospheric planets. So you will get that addition with the Odyssey. Unfortunately, the on-foot sections, the on-foot missions will not be playable in virtual reality. Now the solution that Frontier Developments have come up with to work a way around that is that on the on-foot sections, if you are playing the game in virtual reality, you will then see a projected 2D screen in front of you, the way we used to by playing in theatre mode, for example, and then you will play the on-foot sections using that 2D display within virtual reality. It's not ideal, but at least it is some kind of a solution to continue playing the game, continue playing those missions without taking the VR headset off, or the finickiness of messing around with your headset and going in and out of VR. So I think it's the best that they could do at this time. Now, could this eventually come to virtual reality? Could the on-foot sections come to virtual reality? As far as I'm aware, Frontier Developments have not wholeheartedly committed to ever doing that. However, they've also not committed to not doing that. So I think it will be something that they will be working on in the background, but I don't think it's something we'll see for quite a long time, in all honesty. And I hope I'm wrong on that, but it just doesn't feel like that's going to be a priority for them with the release of this huge update, which they need to focus on tackling a multitude of things in order to get this working at all. But supposing they could bring it to VR at some point, now how would that look? Because generally I play Elite Dangerous, and a lot of people play Elite Dangerous with a HOTAS, a hands-on throttle and stick, where you really pilot your ship, and that's what you do, and you control all of the interface, or a majority of the interface, with the buttons on the HOTAS. But some people also, for example, will set up a steering wheel, so when they land on a planet and they get out into the SRV, some people like to use a steering wheel and transition over to using that while they're driving around on the planets in the SRV. So you've got a combination of HOTAS and then steering wheel. The game can be played with a gamepad as well if you want to do it that way. These combinations of controls has worked relatively well in virtual reality if you want to do it that way, or just stick to one control method, that's fine. Now, something that hasn't been done is motion controls. Now, there are ways to get motion controllers working within Elite Dangerous. I haven't looked into that, I don't know about that at all, but I know that people have experimented with using motion controllers in virtual reality with Elite Dangerous. I don't know how well that works. But providing this extra layer of gameplay with Odyssey, where you have this transition to being in a ship or in an SRV in a seated position to then being on foot and walking around, it can present some problems with virtual reality controller implementation. And we've seen this before, like No Man's Sky, for example, suffers from this problem in my opinion as well. Now, No Man's Sky operates entirely using motion controllers, and for me that's not ideal. I like motion controllers when I'm on foot and I'm out wandering around on a planet. Of course, that's the best way to play that game, but controlling a HOTAS, a virtual HOTAS with these motion controllers, is not an ideal way of doing that in my opinion. Some people like it, I personally don't. I don't think you can get that fine motor control with motion controllers as you can with a HOTAS. And of course, Elite Odyssey is going to suffer from similar problems with transitioning between controls. Now, I will of course continue to play with a HOTAS, and then perhaps on the on-foot sections, if they bring it to VR, they will provide a solution where quite easily you could do that now, in fact, where you just transition to a gamepad or something to play the on-foot sections. Most people will also want some kind of motion controller support in there as well. And then you get into this overall problem that we see from No Man's Sky, LA Noire, transitioning from playing with a HOTAS seated to then getting up and picking up your motion controllers and then wandering around the planet using motion controllers. This is something that really hasn't been sorted out in any kind of definitive way in my experience. And it's going to be a difficulty if Frontier Developments do eventually bring these sections to VR. First of all, will they allow motion controllers? That's a question. And if they do, then how will the transition work between playing with a HOTAS while in your ship or in an SRV to then walking around on a planet with motion controllers? I'm sure there are ways around that, but these are just sort of various thoughts that are popping into my head really. So these are all interesting things to think about, but these are probably problems for the future once we know definitively that they are going to bring this entire game, this entire update to virtual reality, which I hope they do. So overall, my thoughts on this. After this first day of the alpha, it's nicely presented. It's not quite as bug laden as I expected, but I know some people are having various problems with it. There are certainly issues to sort out, I will acknowledge that, but this is an alpha, so that's to be expected, and I'm more than happy to just see how this progresses over the next few weeks and months up to the lead up to the launch of the update. I will say that playing through these sections on a monitor can be a little bit jarring for a game that I'm used to playing almost exclusively in virtual reality. In fact, it is exclusively. I really don't play Elite at all outside of VR, so this is forcing me to play these small sections on a monitor, which is it's a strange experience, and it's something that you can't get around. It's just not as immersive. Of course it's not as immersive, but it still gives me a taste of what it would be like to experience this game in the way that I really want to. I'll play more, but when this update finally releases, I'm not sure how many of these on-foot missions I'll do. I'm going to see how it feels to play in virtual reality and then transition to that 2D display in front of me and play the on-foot missions and see how that feels really. And then I'll probably decide whether I want to continue taking those on-foot missions or stick exclusively to the virtual reality aspects of the game. It's something I'm uncertain about at the moment, but we'll see how that progresses. So I'll keep everybody updated on the progress of this game because it is one of my favourite games in general, and of course one of my favourite VR games. So yeah, I'm interested to see how it progresses, but I just wanted to give this first initial look and first impressions on the game for anybody that is equally interested as well. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.
Please hesitantly tap the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more concise and informative VR content. You can also join our Discord by clicking on the link in the description of this video. And, as always, I'll catch you on the flippity flip.